So I can definitely say with complete confidence that I am so happy that the Faraway Paladin is back, especially after last week's point 0.5 garbage recap episode. I'm sorry, I hate recap episodes. If you want to hear me rant all about it, I have like a 4-minute rant at the beginning of our reaction of episode number 8 this week, but I won't talk about that now. Just know your boy doesn't like recaps. But with that being said, this episode, which is very interesting, I still feel like serves as a stopgap between like the next arc or like the next thing starts. But what's weird is we only have, what, 3-4 episodes left? Because next episode is number 9. So yeah, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, we have like 4 episodes left of the season. So there's, even though like I feel like the next adventure or the next thing is starting for Will, like there's only so much time we have left in the season for them to even tell us that story. So it's going to be very interesting on how the last remaining weeks of the Faraway Paladin come together and how that kind of ends up like being brought in. But nonetheless, I still feel like this episode was a stopgap. The things that happened during this episode is Will came across a bard and a merchant, a salesman, a trader of sorts. And they were able to, him and Menno were able to save them from a animal attack, a gorilla attack. And they were able to try and get across to the next town. Now, the next town is a huge port village or port nation, I guess. But it's a huge city that is on the port. And the reason that Menno and Will need to get there is because as they try and help Menno's prior village rebuild, they don't have anything. They don't have funds. So they need to be able to get horses and cows and pigs and livestock and stuff to be able to live on as they kind of rebuild the town. They need resources and they need somewhere to trade. Well, that trading area ends up being White Castle, so they use their new friends to do 2 things. They use them to escort them because they lost their escorts as they were making their way back to White Castle. And the second thing is their, further escorting fee, instead of actually getting paid by them, they want hookups. They want, introductions of sort. They want to be introduced to people who they can go and trade and get goods from and be able to get, all those things, horses and cows, etc. So they end up escorting them and they end up building a pretty strong relationship with them. So much so that the merchant trader guy ended up becoming Will's 3rd friend, as he likes to call himself. And we got to know more about Blood and Mary's escapades and Gus's escapades, and the fact that the story of the heroes, the 100 heroes and the 3 heroes, are still told by bards and other people throughout the lands because they made such an impact on humans and them being able to live after the demon attacks and after everything that ended up going down. So that was all extremely interesting and extremely good. And we kind of felt and learned about Will's motivations as he continues to grow in front of our eyes as a character, which I thought was really cool as well. And those motivations are, getting friends and learning more about the land that he lives in now. He's no longer protected by Mary and Blood and Gus. And he's now trying to grow as a person and trying to find out about this foreign land he lives in and trying to find out about his mission from Gracefield and trying to, get companions and friends and people who he could be a part of his life. And it's just really cool to see. And I'm very excited to see on what ends up coming next. Outside of that, there wasn't a lot more that happened this episode. It wasn't like the most exciting episode in the world, but it was decently good. It was still a good episode. I still think it was, a good episode to be part of the season to kind of tell this story that they're trying to tell. But outside of that, there wasn't really a whole lot else that happened this episode that I'm trying to really think of. Again, we learned about Mary, Blood, Gus. We learned about the bard and the merchants. We learned about the town being rebuilt. We learned about White Castle, or whatever it's called, White whatever, and we learned about what's going to come next, and that leads me into what will come next for Will, which I think is going to be interesting because they kind of alluded to it here a little bit with the prince and the succession dispute that's currently happening with the nation or city. I don't know if it's a city or a nation, but the place that they're going to right now. There's some ruffled feathers there, and it's mostly because the king who was leading that place before died, so his son took over, but his half-son, or not half-son, but I guess his other son, that's probably from like a concubine or some shit, is the one that should be better leading, but he's not the leader. So I think that Will's going to get involved in that somehow. And I also want to see him go collect the debt from Gus and Will, and I want us to go see Will collect the debt from Gus and Blood and Mary during that story that they were telling from the old elf lady. I think he needs to go collect that paper money. So outside of that, though, I think this episode is pretty good. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I wish I could talk 5 more minutes about this, but I think that's really all I have for you. I'm not trying to extend this video out any longer than it needs to be. Those are my thoughts. I think this was a good episode. It was like a 7. But next week's episode, I think, is going to be even better. And I think the story that they're going to tell next with the prince and the new nation that they're in, I think will be very interesting. I'm actually really excited to see on how Will ends up getting involved in that, as he's now dubbed the Holy Knight. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. If you guys missed our reaction, of course, it's going to come up on screen right now. And I'll see you, my friends, next week for episode number 9. 10, 9. Peace out.